Thanks very much for joining us. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to one and all. We're celebrating the holidays here today and next Sunday by looking back at the year gone by and looking forward to the year ahead with a guest who needs no introduction. She is the Governor of Massachusetts, Her Excellency Maura Healey. Your Excellency, good to see you.
Great to see you. Happy holidays, John.
How do you like being called that?
That's a little weird.
Do you feel excellent?
No.
No, okay.
No.
All right, good. I
Rarely.
appreciate the humility there. Well, thank you for joining us. So let's talk about 2024. You know, one of the biggest stories, obviously, was the bankruptcy of Steward Healthcare. They took over the old Catholic hospital system more than a decade ago. 2 major community hospitals closed, others scrambling. Not to mention the deaths of at least 15 patients from neglect and incompetence, allegedly. So the Globe Spotlight team leveled a kind of a tough hit the other day on state officials, including you, for what they said was failure to discipline the Boston-born hospital chain for regulatory violations, check its aggressive expansion plans and relentless cost-cutting, or respond forcefully to dire warnings as it spiraled toward financial collapse. That's just an excerpt from a Globe editorial. You've said you did the best you could. Let's move past that to this question. What have you learned from what happened? Any mistakes that you or others might have made, and how do you propose to correct them?
Yeah. Well, that Globe Spotlight piece, I have to say, was pretty outrageous. A lot of insinuations, a lot of information left out, and you know, I think it was an unfair hit job, quite honestly. Here's what matters, okay? I'm incredibly proud of the work done by my administration and working with the workforce, the unions in these facilities, working with other hospital providers. You know, what we were able to do, John, is in the face of bankruptcy, of closure of 8 hospitals, we were able to save 6 of those hospitals, 13,000 jobs, protected the stability of the market for healthcare, and also, most importantly, drove a really bad guy who's responsible for all of this, running a for-profit out of Massachusetts. And now those facilities are being operated by responsible not-for-profits, and the 2 that did close were working on plans for healthcare in those areas. I'll also say this, and why I thought that piece was, you know, just beyond my comprehension. I sued Ralph De La Torre as Attorney General. Why? Because he was not providing financial information. He fought us as Attorney General's office every step of the way. And in fact, the Attorney General's office back in 2015 filed a report laying bare the distress, the financial distress that Steward was in. So I think that the state and regulators did their job. I think there's questions about, on the federal level, what needs to happen. But I think what's important, John, is, and I strongly support and am proud of, the work of so many, including in my administration, who came together to save jobs, to save these facilities, and to protect, importantly, access to care for patients in Massachusetts.
I want to move on to other topics, but just briefly here, long before anyone heard of Ralph De La Torre, the community hospitals were perceived to be in big trouble. I haven't heard anything change in that regard. Are we going to continue to see ailing hospitals closing in the coming year?
Well, I think community hospitals have been closing around this country, and there's a real challenge facing healthcare right now in terms of costs, in terms of workforce. I'm proud that in Massachusetts we are #1 for the number of people covered receiving healthcare insurance in this state. But you know, it's something that we need to work on. It's why I've leaned heavily into investments in workforce. As one example, but there's more that needs to happen in this space, because right now, healthcare is not working for too many people in America.
Governor, you took heat from all sides over the situation with the migrants, the flood of migrants into the state. You took heat from the right for the cost of housing the migrants and sending them to school and so forth. Heat from the left for imposing limits on shelter stays. Looking back on the past year, is there anything you wish you'd done differently?
Well, it's funny. You're right. I was taking it from all sides on this, and remember, this is a federal issue. It was created by the federal government. It's why I've advocated so hard for a bill to fix the border. President Trump has come in. He's promised to fix the border. I hope he does just that, and he's got control of both Congress and Senate now. So get that done, Mr. President, because we need it. What I also, tried to take this approach, John, of how do we deal with the fact that we've got these numbers coming in that were required by law to house, but how do we do that in a way that actually gets them out and on to independent living? So we process 4,000 people for work authorization. They're working out in communities in Massachusetts. Some have already left the state. I'm shutting down hotels. I don't think that's a place for anyone to live. And we're making important reforms to our shelter system, which frankly have needed to be made for decades. And I think that these things are going to make a difference. We're seeing the number of migrant families coming into Massachusetts go way down. That's good, because I've also sent the message, Massachusetts, we are not a sanctuary state. If you come here, there is not housing here. And I think that's been effective in changing the trajectory of what we're seeing. But we also have to provide housing for Massachusetts families who really are on hard times and experiencing houselessness, which is also why I went for that affordable homes bill to get more housing brought online.
You say we're not a sanctuary state. Several cities in Massachusetts have designated themselves sanctuary cities. Is it your advice that they reconsider that?
I don't really understand what that terminology means in practice, because I guess I come to this also as a former prosecutor and attorney general. I can tell you that when it comes to criminal investigations of violent crime, of drug trafficking, gun trafficking, human trafficking, today, and this has always been the case, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, working with federal law enforcement will continue to do that work. So I'm not quite sure what sanctuary actually means in practice. I think what's important, though, is that Congress act and we see that reform on the border. And my view, John, on immigration is that violent criminals, people who are creating public safety threats in our communities, should be deported if they're not here lawfully. On the other hand, people who've been here working, living, paying taxes here, contributing to our economy, raising schools. We've got a lot of families with mixed status. We ought to find a sensible path for them in terms of citizenship. And that's what I hope this Congress takes up.
And Governor, let's talk about the election results. First, at the local level. The big winner on Election Day was question one. 72% of the electorate approved of giving the state auditor access to the legislature's records to audit their spending. And she has made it clear, Diana DiZoglio, she thinks legislative leaders have resisted her efforts to expand her reach because they have something to hide. First of all, do you agree with that? You think they have something to hide in the legislature?
No, and I expect them to comply with the law, which goes into effect shortly, actually, because I signed that, I certified that election result just a few weeks ago. So that'll go into effect, and I expect everybody to comply.
She wants you to side with her in these legal disputes that have already arisen in connection with this. Are you going to?
There's really no role for me in this.
There's a political role, right?
Well, I did my job. I signed and certified the election results, and as I say, I expect implementation to go forward in the coming days.
Are you cheering her on?
Look, I think transparency is always important in government, and I certainly support that.
Anything you want to add, or?
No.
Nope, that's it? Okay. All right. So Kamala Harris won Massachusetts. No big surprise there. 62% of the vote. But Donald Trump did much better here than he did 4 years ago, especially strong showings in counties where residents are most economically stressed, gains among Black and Latino voters. He even carried Fall River, first time for a Republican since Calvin Coolidge in 1924. I covered him, good guy. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. So everybody has an opinion on why the Democrats had such a tough night. First of all, what's yours?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I separate top of the ticket presidential versus state and local elections. And we did very well when it comes to local elections here. But I think what was going on in Massachusetts and also around the country is that there was this feeling that the Democrats weren't paying enough attention to people's pocketbook, to their economic circumstance. I know as governor, if I look back at the last year, I have been laser focused on costs. As a result of the tax cuts that I put in, families are getting this year $300 back in their pockets for every child. That goes up to $400 next year. We make community college and UMass more affordable. We make community college free, actually. We have done a lot with economic development to support small businesses and entrepreneurs who need more resources and help from the state. And we've really focused on housing. As you know, I filed the largest housing bill in history. Already we've brought online thousands more units, and that's just going to continue because we've got to lower rents and we got to lower the cost of homes. I think that's where Democrats need to be. That needs to be the focus. That needs to be the message. And there were many people, John, who did not feel connected to that in this last election.
Well, the Biden administration oversaw a dramatic reduction in the growth rate of inflation, wound up apparently not getting much credit for it from the voters. You know, the litany you recited notwithstanding, we're still an awfully expensive place to live. Does this give you any level of concern about your own reelection?
No, I think what it affirms is that we're on the right track. I agree. At the federal level, it's hard to explain to people how, you know, inflation is working, what was happening coming out of COVID, why, you know, the stock market was doing so well, and a lot of the analytics look so great. But at the end of the day, for what people were experiencing at home, the cost of clothing, the cost of groceries, the cost of everything, still really challenging. And that is why, John, I will continue to be, through this next year, really focused on costs, lowering costs. Are we ever going to be the cheapest state to live in America? No. But you know what you'll get living in our state? You're going to have access to health care. You're going to have access to quality public education, very safe communities, clean air, clean water, protection of access to abortion and other, you know, protections of rights and freedoms. And I think those are reasons why you see people coming to Massachusetts, companies coming to Massachusetts, and that's something that we're going to support. It's not to say there aren't challenges. As governor, every day I've got to be focused on what are we doing to lower costs, what are we doing to drive economic growth. We're not there yet, but that's the trajectory that we've got to stay on.
It's a tall order. We've got to wrap it up, but you're going to need more than 2 years to show results, the kind of results you're talking about, right? You're going to need more like 6, isn't that correct?
Well, we'll make any announcements, you know, at the appropriate time. But I just want to say I'm really proud of the team. I'm proud of the work that we were able to do this year. Major legislation on housing, economic development, breast cancer screenings now without any issues from insurers. That's important. The greatest veterans law ever passed in Massachusetts history. A lot done, a lot more to do, but I'm hungry and anxious to get to work on it in 2025.
Governor, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Merry Christmas to you, John. And to everyone out there, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I wish you and your families a lot of love and peace this season.
All right, great. We are going to sit here, the two of us. Our meals are going to be brought to us for the next week. And we'll be right back here again next weekend as we look forward to 2025.